Hello, everybody. Welcome to hour 26, right, my friend?
Yes,
of
yes.
the podcast-a-thon. How's it been going?
Well, I'm feeling every hour of it.
Well, you are none looking worse for the wear, I must say.
Well, I have a pillow head for my hair,
Okay, you're holding
it's
up
worth
well.
it because we have such amazing guests and amazing content.
You're holding up well, and I am very excited about this hour, Shannon. Shannon, you said to me, Nancy, pick whatever you want to do for this hour. And I chose a love story. Mm-hmm. I love love stories. And this is a love story on many levels. It's the love of an autism mom for her two sons who are severely affected by autism. It's the love of a filmmaker for a topic that he covered with passion. It's a love story between two people that we're going to be talking more about. And it's the love story of two autism advocates for our community. So I'm really excited to be covering the film Beyond.
Absolutely. We want to let everybody know that we're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can be writing in your comments as we start to talk about this topic. We've got our tissues ready because this may get emotional, right? You can be sending in your comments and asking questions about this topic and this film of these amazing guests that we've got. You can do that directly on the platform, and I will be able to see them here on the screen, and I'll let you guys know when we have questions and comments.
Great.
But before we get to all that, you've got something
to look at a little Wyart. Most
Yes.
of you know that we always start the show with some art by my son, Wyart-Jackson, which is called Wyart. And today we have something a little different. This donkey was commissioned by my friend who actually, there are wild donkeys in Riverside County, Shannon.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
And Bob Barker, the animal rights television host and animal rights activist, has put together a ranch called Donkey Land for these donkeys. But they would go right up to cars. They're right off the freeway. And my friend ministers to these donkeys. So she has some pictures of them. And Wyart painted this donkey. Now, Wyart likes to make up stories about everything he paints. He likes to name, usually the dogs he paints, people tell them the names. But he told me this. I said, what is behind this story, Wyart? And he said, this is a donkey named Toby. And I said, what's he doing? He said, well, he's sad because he thinks his mother doesn't love him anymore. And then he said, and now he's walking home because he realizes his mother does love him.
Oh, that's very sweet.
That is.
So that's Toby. Then the next one is also something a little different. If Traven, okay. This one will make you get out the tissues. My friend Steve Foster, who lives in Richmond, Virginia, his wife passed away from COVID in 2020. And he sent me a photograph of her hands with her granddaughter's hands with bracelets they had made together. And Wyart painted them. And I asked him about the story. I told him the names, Terry Lynn and her granddaughter. And he said, the grandmother is in heaven and she's happy and she misses her granddaughter.
It's a beautiful painting. I'm sure that they were thrilled to receive this, and it'll be a thing that will hang in a place of honor in their home.
They were.
Amazing. Amazing.
Are we ready to jump in?
I think we should.
Okay.
Would you like to introduce our wonderful
Sure.
guests who've been waiting patiently?
Yes, okay. I am going to start, and these bios are long, so I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit. Thiago Dadalt?
Yes,
Great, I got it. He's an award-winning writer, director, editor from Brazil. He's won numerous awards with Chocolate, which was Oscars qualified in 2018, a short film about the early onset of Alzheimer's. The homeless community in LA, Duke, which is about severe autism. So you're no stranger to that topic. And well, you have all kinds of awards, and Drew Miller has produced all your movies.
That's true.
At D. Ellen Miller Productions.
Correct.
Tamara Mark. She is one of the subjects of Beyond, the film, which this documentary is called. She's the co-founder, president, board of directors of the Beyond Ranch Foundation. Tamara started dancing at the age of 3. She was classically trained. She had quite a career in the dance and show business world. We're going to get into that. She then had 2 children. After a spiritual journey, she married and had 2 children. And they were both diagnosed with autism.
Yes.
And your focus became entirely on how to heal, help, and care for them. They are severely affected. Their names are Ian and Harry. This is also about her love story with the man sitting next to her, which you'll hear more about, Marc Olsen. He is the co-founder, treasurer of the board of directors of the Beyond Ranch Foundation. Marc is a dual citizen of both Australia and the U.S. He resided in Australia for the last 43 years of his life. He's quite a Renaissance man, jack of all trades, from sugarcane farm worker to then going back to school and studying accounting, worked in accounting for many years, and we're going to hear about their kind of star-crossed love affair as we get into the interview. So first, I'd like to start with Thiago. Thiago, what made you want to tell the story of Tamara Mark and her 2 sons, Ian and Harry, in the film Beyond?
It's a very interesting story, actually, because we have a common friend called Zita, and I was making a feature documentary about Alzheimer a year before I met Tamara, and her friend told me about her story. But because Drew and I, we made the short film Duke before, we were not looking to tell another story about autism. But the way that Zita told me Tamara's story was so impactful in my mind. I don't know how to explain, but it was just, I was just thinking about it. And a year later, I talked with Zita again about the Alzheimer documentary, and her story came to my mind, and I said, remember that you told me about this woman with 2 nonverbals? Because in my mind, I had experience with 1 nonverbal. And Duke. And imagining 2 was just something
Beyond.
Exactly, explains the title of the movie, right? But, and then she right away put us in contact, and we did a Zoom call, and I don't know, it was just, we fell in love right away, like it meant to be.
It's a love story all the way.
It's a love story all the way, yes. And the beauty of it is, Drew and I, it was the pandemic by the time. There was Thanksgiving 2020, close to Thanksgiving 2020, and I asked Tamara permission to film her entire day, and that's supposed to be a short documentary. Because even like, I didn't know her, I don't know how much like I could, she will allow me to show and all those things. And also, I was just curious to see how would be her day. So we set up for that, and by the end of the day, we were all just, we all love each other, and it was so much happening. As you can see, as the beginning of the movie is the Thanksgiving 2020. And then I called Drew, who is the executive producer of the movie, and I said, look, it's a pandemic going on, and I think it's a very important story here. And if you allow me, I would love to spend an entire year from Thanksgiving to Thanksgiving. And whatever happens there, that's gonna be the movie, really. Like, we didn't know much.
No script.
No script. And I was with a little camera because I knew Ian and Harry would not allow me to have like tons of people and big cameras and all those things. So he had, like, this is a movie that could be made with a cell phone because it's about the story. It's not really about how it looks and all those things, But it is very important to show because I don't think it's a lot of content out there about autism, but not enough about severe autism.
Absolutely.
And this is real life. This is every day. This is what Tamara and many other families go through.
Absolutely.
So that's what I wanted to show, and I hope.
Well, I think you
the
did
movie
it brilliantly. You know, Shannon and I often talk about how blessed we are because our children are higher functioning, but we never forget the parents that are out there dealing with severe autism.
Absolutely. Maybe we should roll the trailer, one of the trailers. I'm not sure which one we're going to see. We're playing Russian roulette with the videos today. But let's take a look at the trailer so you guys can get a feel for what we're talking about. This is the film Beyond.
I call him my Hollywood dad. Sidney Poitier took me under his wing. Everybody thought I had like this lucky star over my head. And I did, and I do. It just turned into something different. He's driving him 9 hours a day. Keep him calm. You could, thank God. Love those kisses. I think my whole life was a preparation to do what I'm doing right now with the boys. He's always moving, so he, right, buddy? Yeah, my handsome bunch. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to keep my kids safe. It gets really simple. You're tired, but we gotta go. We're gonna go. Let's go. Come on. Parents like me, when we're gone, our kids will be institutionalized.
But maybe we're gonna make a community someday. What are we gonna do when we're gone?
We want to live forever. Trust me, we always say we can't die, we can't die. Well, I've had a few friends die. We've got to find land where we can get zoned to create this beautiful environment for the future of our children. He's suffering, and these kids suffer. You know I come back. You know I come back. They're not vegetables, they're people with feelings and intelligence and compassion and love and kindness. My career gave me the tools in my toolkit to be disciplined, to stay tenacious, to not give up. I'm in complete unconditional acceptance of them. My name is Tamara Mark, and this is my story.
So it's a lot to take in, right? And we want to talk about a little bit about your previous dance career, because what a career. But I have to say, I can't allow, you made a comment about this could have been shot on a cell phone. I can't allow you to get away with that because it's beautiful. It's shot beautifully.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
And the whole opening sequence, because here you are, this world-class dancer, and the juxtaposition in the beginning, I don't want to give too much away, but of you dancing with the boys engaging in some of their behaviors is breathtaking.
Thank you.
Really an amazing piece of cinematography. I certainly hope that you're going to put this in the running for the Academy Awards, because it needs to be. And I don't say that lightly. I review films.
She's a film buff.
And I watch all the documentaries every year. You need to make sure that you get this in, and you need to ask the autism community's help to make sure that happens. But you need to, because it's a lovely piece of film work. Don't be selling yourself short with the cell phone.
Oh no, it's not about that. It's just because we try from the beginning to make this in the right way, but it wouldn't work if it wasn't the way that we made it. You know.
But
so I myself, as a filmmaker, I had to give up a lot to make this film happen, and because it's really about getting the right moments and what you go through every day, and not really about the right shot or those kind of things. Yeah. So, but as a filmmaker, you give up that. You know what I mean? And because it's really about the story, and that's what the movie's about. Yeah. And it was beautiful. Everything happened really naturally. Was nothing fake it.
It was very organic.
Organic. And Tamara would just come and say, "Okay, I'm going. That is the dentist thing going on." So I just jump in the Uber and with my camera by myself and go and join, like those
So
kind
raw.
of things.
It was so raw and rough, and I'm like, I had to surrender too. Trust me.
But that is, the raw and the rough is it's beautiful, and it's beautifully done, it's respectfully done.
It is done
But
respectfully.
seeing you at such a level as a dancer, this isn't like a hobby that you were doing. You were a professional dancer at the very top of your game.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw in that clip, this was not you messing around.
Right.
You had a
Thank
career and a life.
Yes.
And I want you to talk a little bit about, because I think people would say you've made a sacrifice, and I'm wondering if that's how you feel about it.
No.
I didn't think so.
No. I always get emotional, but like I say in the trailer, I feel like my whole life was a preparation to do what I'm doing presently, which I think a life of service is why we're here. So some people serve through making films, and some people serve through taking care of ill people. I just feel like I had a huge arcing of a life to get a lot of tools to handle a most, impossible situation to handle. And I did it alone for a long, long time.
But there is something about watching you interact with your boys that you bring that dancer soul, that free spirit to it. It's
Thank you.
poetic.
Oh,
It's absolutely poetic. It's
Well,
very inspirational.
Oh, well, thank you. They are my, they've been my inspiration. I mean, I think anybody, as you guys have autistic kids, no matter where they are on the spectrum, they bring a certain light and love to a life that was missing before, because they carry within them a gift because of their lack in certain, neurotypical areas, that they come out in these ways. Like when people would say to me, what's your son's gifts? Like, do they paint? Are they a savant? Or they have all these things? And I say their gift is love. That's what they teach.
Amazing.
Let's talk a little bit about the beginning.
Okay.
In the film, you say Ian was perfectly developing and that he disappeared before your eyes. What happened, Tamara?
Well, there's so many different things to say about that. I hesitate to sometimes go down a road of what I feel happened, because I don't think that it's really important, because as Marc always coins to me and says, I don't look at the rearview mirror. So what happened was tragic. It appeared tragedy because he was so typically developing and speaking and very advanced in all his things. And he was ill and went to the doctor and got a shot. And I think that maybe he just couldn't handle, because he wasn't well, possibly. And he sort of lost the next day. I mean, that night he was very sick. He started screaming, and he never ever stopped. He stopped sleeping. He stopped eating. I was the only person who could touch him. He ran incessantly. He did that for years, and he just looked vacant and in pain. And he went from this, completely joyous, beautiful, happy kid, saying all kinds of words, and my friend said the last thing I was in Beverly Hills getting my hair done, and she had him in a stroller, and she's one of my best friends, Gretchen, who was in the movie with me. And she said she was walking him through the streets, and all of a sudden he turned to her and went, "I want my mommy." And she thinks that was probably the last thing he ever said, and he was just maybe a little over a year.
Right. I think your story is a lot of people's story.
Yes.
I can relate. Same thing with my child. So I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate to that.
Yes.
But you went on to have a second child, Harry.
Yes.
When did you realize he had autism as well?
He was typically developing, and I had made a choice to wait on starting vaccinations, just based on the fact that I experienced vaccine injury. So what I did was I waited, and at 15 months I was at a well visit with my then pediatrician, and she sort of bullied me into starting. And I was so tired. I mean, so much was going on having two, and I don't talk about my other part of my life, being married and all that, because it's not important to me. But there was a lot of things going on, and I just caved, and he was gone the next day too.
And then when did you realize he was severely affected?
I did a fundraiser to go take Ian to the Sunrise program in the Option Institute in Massachusetts. We did a fundraiser at the Rose Bowl with 125 people. We had the Galaxy. It was a huge event, and we made all the money to go. It was $15,000 for a week, and we made it with 125 people and some people. You know, we had a nice event. So we ended up, while I was there, they said, do you want us to take a look at Harry too? I already knew. I'd already called Regional Center. Because when you have it first time, you know the signs of the second. You know, you see the lack of ability to do what they did before. He was throwing balls and playing and being playing with things, and they just both stopped doing everything.
Did you go into denial, or how did you grasp it?
I think I felt like, I'm going to fix this. I am going to get in there, and I'm going to do everything I can. So I would say to the school district, you know, Ian's 3 or 4, and I said, I'm going to go to the Sunrise Institute, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to work with my kid 14 hours a day. He's going to get better. You know, I'm going to prove. And I mean, I really did every single therapy out there, and special diet, and chelation, and Chinese herbs, and you name it. Equestrian therapy, painting therapy, but it just dolphin therapy, woo-woo therapy. You know, it's like I did everything, but it just didn't really change. It got better. I mean, they definitely look healthy. They look more happy. You know, especially now that Harry's feeling better. Wouldn't you say?
No, undoubtedly.
We got a lot of people writing in online. Our Journey, Cameron's New Life says, I know that I've been preparing my whole life to take care of my son, even though I never knew that I was going to have him. And she said, awesome. And she says, I know my son's made me a better person, and anybody that's ever interacted with him is a better person for knowing him. Carl has said, thank you so much for saying what you said. And Eric says this movie needs to win an Oscar. I'm with him. I think all of us need more movies about autism and have it be a true story. And we got several other comments, but I want to get back to questions. We've talked a little bit about the fact that, you know, making a documentary is hard. Anytime you do that, right? But then you guys have had all these extra challenges, COVID, autism, people who didn't want to be on camera because there were people who were like, I don't want to be a part of this, that were in your life and very much in your life.
Their agencies wouldn't allow them to.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So there were a bunch of different roadblocks, and you said you were inspired to take a year to do this, but I'm just wondering if there were times along the way where any of you were like, I'm not sure. Maybe we're not going to be able to do this. Maybe this isn't what's best for us or for the boys, or?
To be honest, I didn't know how the movie would come about.
No,
But it was like we always talking and all, and for sure was always the time I would come to Tamara, and I'm sure she was busy and was a lot going on, and I'm sure it was harder to have somebody with a camera there. But for me, I knew something beautiful would come about, but I didn't know what it was. So I just, after the films that I did, and I learned so much, I really go with the flow, and I learned a lot going with the flow with Tamara as well, because you know, her life, every 5 minutes something's happening and changing all the time, so you can't make much plan.
When people would say, did you script it? We're like, how could we possibly script something with these two boys?
No. And a lot was actually left outside of the documentary because I had to find a story and keep on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what was challenging for me and very important was to show Ian and Harry personality. I didn't want to just show, you know, the struggle. I want people to get to know who they are. And that what me and Tamara, we had conversations, and I said, we have to find a way to capture those moments.
Yeah.
And that's when she invited me to sleep over, and I was able to be more involved with the boys, because they're very different. as much as a lot of people think they're the same because they look alike, but they're very, very different. And that was something very important for me to show.
Tamara, the film depicts more than just a day in the life of your family, but what it's actually like living with severe autism over a long period of time. Can you describe for us what the life of a mother with 2 sons with severe autism is like?
Yeah, it's more than a full-time 24/7 job because it's ×2. And I always say, like, it's not like 2 children, it's like 24. And then you're dealing with all the other elements, which is people's personalities that come into the home. You never have any more privacy. And they're also so, you're dealing with, if they're having a bad day and you're trying to tell them, please leave it at the door because we're having a hard enough day in here, or it just keeps going on and on. So a typical day, like, especially since they've become adults, as you know, when your kids age
How
out
old are they now?
They are 22 and almost 25, and it'll be 25 on April 21st. So when COVID came in, Harry unraveled, then COVID came in, then I met this wonderful man who, honestly, I want to interject this, is that I would never have allowed anyone else to make this film. It makes me emotional because he's so heart-centered and so passionate and so talented. And I told him this on the first day he interviewed me. I go, I hate to sound like a snob, but I might not have worked a bazillion things, but everybody I worked with was at the top of their game. So I have a very high expectation of what I would allow into my home.
Yeah, this is the ultimate compliment.
Yeah.
It is, I know.
Because I think when he first told me that,
Sidney Poitier,
I know.
Bob Fosse,
God,
Hal Prince,
I felt on top of my game.
George
now.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
well, you mentioned that there's so many, it's kind of stunning in the film how many people are in and out of your house and how many people at a time. What is it like to never have alone time?
Oh my God, I used to, during COVID, when I met him, I was at a restaurant where you could sit outside, and he was in a thing, and I went instantaneous. And Marc, I would go out to take a walk, because there was always people there, and I would just walk, and I would talk to him on Messenger, or for hours. But that's what I would do to get sanity, because in the household, there was no sanity, and they'd come in and they'd get sick, they'd bring COVID, then everyone would leave, then I'd be alone with the boy. It was just it was a day-to-day nightmare.
Can I just add something else too? We were very worried about to my team bring COVID to the boys and Tamara. So we really we have Bruna and Demi. So we will have usually we'll have 1 or 2 of them with me, but we were always getting tested, and we were always afraid to be the one bringing, so that was another thing that changed the way we made the film, because it couldn't have many people. It was already a lot inside the house, you know what I mean?
Right.
And even those people didn't want to be in the movie, so I had to find ways, they're there, but had to find ways to not film their faces and all those things. So yeah, it was
The only time we didn't have people there was overnights.
True.
That's
You're
the
right.
only time, and most of those years, until Marc came into my life, even from a distance, he would let me sleep and listen for me.
Well, let's talk about Marc.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Marc.
You want to get into
yes.
the love story?
Yes. I think I said this to you beforehand, that one of the most incredible moments in the film is something that you say. I don't know if we want to give that away, but you say something that is the big stunner. I think that every parent, of whether they're single or in a relationship, will see something that you say and be leveled. I know I needed 7 hankies. But you come in sort of third quarter of this film with a very big presence. And we're going to talk a little bit about the love story, but you got to hear a lot about her day from her on a day-to-day basis before you came and had eyes on. And there is this very intense scene when you get to see it firsthand for the first time. and we're all watching you, looking to see if you're heading out the door, right? Because, right?
We all were. We all were.
Because it's a
Were you
lot.
too, Tamara?
I was hoping not. But
Yeah, it's a lot what you go through, and to invite somebody else into that. So I'd like for you to speak to, you can say what you say in the film. I don't want to say what you said, but you can say it.
Well, I did say I'm never leaving, nor will I, ever.
And that you had made up your mind about that. I think that's what everybody wants to hear from their partner, right?
Yeah.
Well, we were fortunate for COVID to come in some ways, because I was going to come over in June of 2020 on my way to see my family up in Bend, Oregon. I thought I'd call in, spend a couple of weeks, and then COVID hits, and then I can't leave the country. So we got to spend another year and a half on Messenger, talking to each other. I got to see the boys. Tamara would show me the boys on the phone, and I'd say hi to them. So I got to see, I had some indication of what I might be walking into, but
And you weren't candy coating it. You were keeping it real,
no,
right?
she didn't hide anything
Right,
from
no.
me. It was full on, and to be honestly truthful, the first day I walked in there, I got whoa, it's like getting smacked in the face, really. It's like a sensory overload that I've never experienced, because I had no experience with autistic, especially severely impacted. So yeah. But I just took a deep breath and said, hey, this is what I'm here for.
And it was interesting. Can I add something too?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, Thiago, about the challenges of telling this love story as it unfolded.
Well, Tamara she didn't told me that right away. They were talking for a while. I did not
Should
know.
we go back a little bit? You met how many years ago first?
45 now. 45
And
years
then
ago.
you reconnected again on Facebook, which, Mark, you say you loathe.
He does. He's not even on it
I'm
anymore.
not on it anymore.
And you reconnected and decided to tell each other your life stories since you had seen each other
Yeah.
and kind of fell in love, right?
Yeah. Started out just as, like, I want to hear what you've been doing for the last 43 years.
I'll never forget it.
And then it kind of builds to where, Mark, you get together, and then he comes here, as we talked about. And I just want to say, your tenderness with the boys, I'm going to get choked up now, but when you say son,
Yeah.
you call them son.
Yeah.
And when I first met Mark, I said, can we clone you?
I think a lot of people wish we could.
I know every single mother of every autistic child wishes that.
they could.
What were the challenges of capturing the love story?
Well, by the point, actually, when Tamara told me, I think I was already 6 months filming, and then she was telling me about Mark, and I get to
Curveball.
and we met by Facebook as well. Like, we had some conversations, and he was not into being in the movie. He was not really into be part of it. And getting closer to the end, where we had this year of filming, supposed to end by Thanksgiving 2021, was when he was about to arrive, and I say, we have to put this in the movie. As much as I know he don't want to, please, let's make this happen, because I didn't want to, the beginning of the movie, we see Tamara by herself, and as much as so many people in the house, the boys, you see this woman struggling to keep herself alive and everything working, right? And I really didn't want to finish that way again. I didn't want to finish the same Thanksgiving the same way I started. I wanted something uplifting, beautiful for her, but also I was afraid that he would not handle, you know what I mean? It's a lot. So even before they went to meet, I talked with Tamara. I say, Tamara, I love all of this going on. I just hope he's the guy, because I was scary for her, Of
course.
Yeah.
So then I'm glad he actually came in, and he's my brother now. And he got used to it, and he let me film, and I love that both of them they knew how important would it be to show this, you know? It's not about to explore what was going on, but show like, look, it's a lot challenging, but it's love there too. It's a story there, you know, and also that doesn't mean that her life now it's a happy life. The challenge is still there. That's another thing that people, you know, oh, now she have him, yeah, and that's beautiful and amazing, but the challenge is still there, and that's why we hope the movie helps to build the next step for them.
It's so amazing how this unfolded.
Right.
It's not just a coincidence.
No, it's not.
It's
Yes.
divine.
It is a divine thing.
intervention. And, you know, that you didn't want to end on just the same thing. You wanted to end on a hopeful note, and what could be more hopeful than finding love?
It's really interesting because we didn't plan anything. Things happen in that frame time that
It had
we
its own
decided to
trajectory.
film.
Like it had its own,
That's
like
true.
the dance of the film. Like it was a dance.
Yep.
Because it just sort of all worked out. Like it really, we couldn't have planned it.
No.
We really
Amazing.
couldn't have.
Well, now let's shift gears a little bit and talk to us about the mission of the Beyond Ranch Foundation. Who
We'll
wants
let
to share
Marc talk
that?
about that.
Yeah, it's basically for trying to find a solution for the huge, huge unmet solution for all these highly severely impacted autistic people in the world. I think I read something the other day, there's something like 31 million, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but that was a number that I heard of nonverbal autistic people in the world. The need is massive, and there is a lot happening in this country. Since I've been here, I've been researching a lot. There are a lot of people trying to find housing and that sort of thing, but a lot of it is very expensive. The average family, as Tamara's mentioned in other interviews, and that, you know, it's hard even keeping a job, you know, let alone have some resources enough financially to go build communities for these people. So our talking about it with Tamara a lot, we just want to try and come up with a low-cost solution for housing in a nice setting. I just happened to come across a research paper the other day about how people with disabilities, in this paper it was more about Alzheimer's or dementia, but how a street layout is critical for people to navigate their way through a community setting. So it just opened my eyes to all the different things that one has to think about doing this. But
And we know that it's needed, not to interrupt, but we want to create community. I've always seen community since I was a teenager. I just didn't know that I was going to be creating communities for autism. But I did see the future coming, that it would be, we would have to go back to living in communities. And a teacher asked me that in high school, and I said that we're going to go into a technological boom, and then something's going to happen, and we're going to have to live together in communities. And what's interesting is, I just didn't know that it was going to, because my sons are going to have severe autism, but it turned out that way, and it's a huge task. I mean, I tried to create, it's in the movie, prior, you know, with my friend Catherine Curry-Williams and Holly Powell.
I was supposed to be in on that in the beginning
Yes.
of that. Just the pandemic was happening.
Yeah, and it just sort of fell apart because the zoning, I mean, she got a developer and all that. So when this all happened with Thiago, and now with Marc seeing the critical unmet need as well, we just thought, let's take this opportunity, because we're fortunate enough to have had the real truth told about lives like ours. Because most people will never see the inside. I mean, so many friends have come to me and you know, hold me in tears, say, I didn't even know your life was like that. It was completely clueless that you were living in a life that hard. Because you present yourself like everything.
You look good. You look good. I mean, nobody in the grocery store would look at you and think how much your life is about caring for others. Nobody would.
That's true.
That's nice
that's
of you to
because of
say.
her heart.
That's nice of you to
heart.
say. But I do really want to help not just our boys. I want to help the world's population. I mean, I have people reach out to me all the time and want me now to like help them. I'm like, I'm trying, but you know, what more can I do? I'm doing my best. We're trying to get the movie seen. Yeah. It's really difficult because we're a grassroots production. It was done on a very small budget, yes. And it was just done for love. I mean, when he met me and we connected, I really, honest to God, thought I always wanted to make, and I'd said it a year earlier in a podcast, I really want to make a documentary about our life because no one will ever believe it, and we're never going to get help if people don't really see what's going on for all these families.
Yeah.
And
That's
you know,
true.
people don't want to see it,
Right.
which is the hardest thing for me about this film. That what we're hearing, we get rave reviews, right, from all over the world. It's people that are reviewing love it. All the people that come that don't know anything about autism are blown away. They're moved. They want to help. And then there's people that actually have autistic kids, and they think it's too hard to watch.
That's true.
My son watched, I'll let you, after I want to say, I watched the film again with my son, and thank you for giving me a great teachable moment. Wyart was fascinated with Ian and Harry. And he said, why, is it Harry that has the first
Yes.
picture? He said, why is Harry upset? And, you know, I had told him before, it's about two young men with autism, like you have, but they have a more severe form of autism. And he, when the tantrum was happening, he said, did I do that? And I said, yes, you did. Even up until, 6 months ago, he kicked one of the bedroom doors in. And I said, you used to do it when you were younger, do you remember, like 5 and 6 times a day? And he was very concerned and wants them to come to his house and wrote them a letter. But it was a great teachable moment. So for people that can watch it with their kids on the spectrum, I urge them to do so because it really opened up a conversation for us.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, don't you think, Thiago, we've heard this too, that because they're living, I've seen it on Facebook posts, because I'm in all these groups now because of it, and they will say, I can't watch a film about my kind of life. And I think the pity about that is that it would give them inspiration and hope because it actually it weaves a story that gives insight to a future where we all have to come together and help one another. That we've got to come together and create policy changes and legislation changes and financial. It shouldn't be on the burden of the parents who are struggling to keep a roof over their head and who aren't getting enough sleep. Most of them were like me, single moms, and they're struggling. And even those with partners, when you're as severe as Harry and Ian are, and kids, I have other friends whose kids are aggressive towards their parents. It's, Harry and Ian were never aggressive toward me, so I don't have that part of it. It just was horrible to watch your kids suffering in so much pain and no one will help you.
Self-injurious.
Self-injurious and,
But also, I want to add there that Drew and I, we work really hard to make the movie in a way that, we show the struggle, but we show the beauty, we show all parts of it. So it's kind of weird that people feel that they can't handle this movie, but they can't watch a murder film.
people being
or,
blown
what
up,
I mean?
shot.
Because we really took care of to show and make sure the movie is not only about
The hard
the
stuff.
hard stuff. And it's just weird that.
Well, let's face it, the realities of the world are very difficult for some people to face.
Right.
I want to get back a minute to the community and what you're trying to build. The film explores in a lot of detail. You actually go to a community, and there are other autism families and kids with autism there, which I love that you explored that, and you get really into this issue, don't you?
Yes, we found these people in San Diego. They have severe autistic people too. And what I want to actually, even like Duke, that
He's in the
I
film.
made the short film
Yeah, and he's in
before,
this
and
film.
he's in the film with his mother. I just want to show that, yes, Tamara's life is hard, and it has so many people out there that need the help. Like everybody has to really come together for this community to happen. And also, I didn't want to just show Tamara's life as like an isolated case. It's a
Exactly.
lot of families going through the same situation. So we all have to pay attention to this. Hey, it's a lot. It's millions. Like it's millions of people, and I really don't think people are paying attention.
And when they age out of a system, like all of us know with kids, once they're 22 hits, they call it the cliff. I call it the abyss, because for our situation, it is a complete, there's nothing. I mean, we are struggling right now. We're going through all the savings for my children's future to keep helping the house because we can't get an agency cleared through Regional Center to come work with us. They keep delaying it. Meanwhile, the money's, it's just like, how'd you say it? We're bleeding money. It's not sustainable. And I have friends whose kids have been in the hospital and they'll call me, what can I do? And I'm like, well, this is what I did when Harry was in the hospital. I mean, all I can do is offer support. But most of us that live the life that we live do not have the bandwidth to do one more thing than they're doing. And that's just the God honest truth. Yeah. Because they're exhausted, financially strapped, broken, traumatized, living with present traumatic stress disorder. It's not post, it's current. Mm-hmm. And we can't get together. We're like, let's try to get together, It's impossible. People will do pool parties. I couldn't get Ian and Harry to go to a pool party at a designated time for a designated hour, or, it's like.
Yeah. Well, we want to go to some of the comments that we have here. Nava Paskowitz-Asner, who's going to be up in the next hour.
Hi,
Nava.
The Ed Asner Family
We
Center
love
is
you.
up next in just a few minutes, in fact. We'll go to them live. But she says, I love and admire you, Tamara.
I gotcha.
As in so many people. Judy has written in and said, so real. Is the movie out? And we want to know where people can go, how they can support the film, how to do that. Joanne has said, that's right. Sadly, people don't want to know. And Our Journey, Cameron's New Life says, I'm a married single mother with no support, live together but separate lives, because that's a story that we don't get to hear often as well. I just want to throw the log onto the fire that I think that it will be hard for some people who are living a life that is reminiscent of yours. Mm-hmm. But I think you have a bigger purpose here, because other people need to hear this story.
Yes.
And they will hear it, and it will change lives for the people who can't watch it. So you're in service of them, and they don't even know. But it's a really important film that way. So how can people see it? When can they see it?
So we start the film festival run by the end of August last year, right?
Last year, yeah.
We still have a couple film festivals waiting. So the truth is, we're looking for distribution. We don't have that yet. We hopefully, in a couple months, we will find
an agent to pitch
or
us.
Agent, or so anybody out there who work in the film industry
that
may be interested.
Thank you.
Please let us know. And we are also, some people are requesting private screenings, so they can go to the website docbeyond.com and send us an email. And
What's the website again?
it's docbeyond.com.
Okay.
And they can request a private screening if it's something that they're gonna put people together to watch. I had some requests for people to do fundraising, but the movie is about to help this family and everybody else who wanna make this happen. So we hope to find the right place for the movie soon. We also had the movie was part of the CineQuest Film Festival, and it was streaming for 2 weeks. So a lot of people had a chance to watch. Mm-hmm. So if people can just follow us on Facebook and Instagram, which is Beyond Film Documentary, and Beyond
ranchfoundation.com.
ranchfoundation.com. They're gonna be able to do any donation to help this amazing family.
.org, actually.
.org.
Oh,
Sorry.
.org. BeyondRanchFoundation.org.
Yep.
And let's talk about then how people can support this mission. Can they support it financially? Can they support, what can they do?
Yes, they can support it financially. We have as soon as you log on to the webpage, it's a donate button comes right up. But they can email us. They can get in contact any way they feel that they can help. We'd love to hear from anybody.
And their expertise, what
Yeah.
maybe those levels of how to set up a community, or what they suggest with if they're medical, or if they're, it's going to need everything. It's
Right.
going to need.
So you're welcoming
Yes.
Yes.
all ideas.
Absolutely.
Are you scouting locations, or are you just fundraising right now? Kind of what stage are you in?
We're brand new.
We're brand
Right,
new. We're
you're
trying to
brand new.
fundraise.
Okay.
We're really
We were hoping
to work on the back of the movie, obviously.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
To piggyback us along.
And every time we get a little, like CineQuest 12 days online streaming, things seem to be like we're lifting up, but then we like get deflated because it goes away again. But we just can't give up. So we none of us give up that have our kids. We never give up.
Yeah.
And just one thing, if people want to watch like Duke and all the projects that we did before and also beyond is there as well, dlmillerproductions.com.
Drew Miller
No,
Productions.
dlmillerproductions.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
.com.
Amazing. So we just have maybe a couple of minutes left. I'd love to go down the line and ask all of you, where would you like to be with all of this in 5 years? If you could dream a little bit, what would you like to see happen? Because I believe in putting things out into the universe. So
Right.
put
So
it
do
on.
I.
Put it on out. Where would
Well,
you like
I
to
hope the movie opens the doors for people to really get to know this family and the necessity of building this community. So I hope the movie helps in somehow.
Let's go
this
big,
happens.
Tiago. Oscar.
That's what I was going to say. What I want for him is for him to win an Oscar. Because
Thank you.
no, I do. He, he's so talented and so gifted, and he cares about so many, so many different subjects, not just autism. And his work shows that. He and Drew Miller and his team. I mean, my dream for him is that I want him to win the Oscar so he can go and do all the things he really wants to do, and I hope it comes to fruition for him.
Appreciate it.
I do, and for us, I mean, I think the thing is to be able to figure out where we need to start the first community and have the money to do it and then have it go worldwide. Like we would love to make a model, talking about thinking big, starting with an affordable model because a lot of people don't have the money, or if there is policy changes or legislation changes where they're funded by the government or whatever, but they need to be beautiful and they need to be in places where people can have a quality of life and have peers interaction, learn trades, learn things, grow things, whatever it is they're into, art, music, whatever. I just feel like it needs to be a safe haven for all these adults that are their parents aren't gonna always be able to do this.
Yeah.
So,
Let's bring it back to Ian and Harry.
yes.
Oh, before can I
Okay,
just?
yeah.
I have to thank my team who made this
Absolutely,
movie happen.
please.
So
Yes.
Drew Miller is the executive producer and producer of the movie.
We
Thank
love you, Drew.
Love you, Drew. And we had Damaris Pinheiro and Bruna Nogueira, who was there with me.
Love them too.
Yes. And Alspaugh-Jackson, he made the music beautifully in the movie.
Beautiful.
I did the editing.
Wow.
and
Ricardo did
the graphics. So yeah, it was a small team, but everybody put a lot of passion and love. And
Yeah.
and I hope people get to see it.
Right, so Ian
and Harry.
what do you want for them 5 years from now?
I really want them to have a quality of a purposeful life where they don't need me all the time.
Yeah. That's important.
That they're more independent.
That's important.
Because right now, as it's seen, their life would be really bad without us.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Well, they're writing in and saying your family is beautiful. And Joanne raises a question that I think is great. What about PBS? Maybe they would consider promoting it. I see with a lot of documentaries, whether it's the New Yorker, the New York Times, PBS. Are you guys looking at that?
We're
soon?
trying PBS, yes. We had a couple big companies taking a look, but it takes forever. People change people all the time. After the
Yeah.
pandemic, things changed a lot in the movie industry. So we're navigating, and we're gonna try PBS, and we hope to find the right place for the movie. But if somebody's out there know anything, please get in
Yes,
contact with
You're
us.
listening.
Yes,
maybe,
please.
maybe Matt Asner has some ideas. I do, Matt. So
There we go.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we're gonna transition to
Right.
the Asners. The Ed Asner Family Center is taking the next hour. Traven, if it's possible, in a second here, we'd like to go out with one of the other trailers that we didn't see. I'm going to give you a second to cue that
Can
up.
I just say thank you to both of
Can-
you for having us on?
Can I say thank you for sharing this amazing love story on so many levels? It makes me think of Mother Teresa saying, when people asked her how she did what she did, she said, find your own Calcutta. It's in your
That's it.
community, it's in your backyard, it's in your workplace.
Yeah.
Thank you for making this your Calcutta. It's so important.
Thank you for that. Thank you for allowing us to be here. Giving us
It's our pleasure.
a platform.
Our pleasure.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And so as we leave, we're gonna, if Traven's got it, we're gonna leave you with another one of the trailers from the film. Then there'll be a slight pause, and then you guys will be dialed in to the Ed Asner Family Center, their hour, continuing on in this amazing podcast-a-thon. I do want to give one programming note that we are doing a little challenge here at the Autism Network, that in the final hour, we're raising money for iPads through Autism Care Today. Because we believe that functional communication piece is critical. It's a human right. Everybody has the right to have some ability to communicate, and sometimes an iPad is the ticket. So if you see on the screen there, we're also asking for donations. In the final hour, if we raise a minimum of $5,000, Dr. Grampuchet is going to shave my head bald in the final hour. So
She did it before.
I've done it before, so we're going to do it again.
Do it again.
But this time, Dr. Grampuchet is so excited about it, it's ridiculous. How she's already got like a whole apron and a thing to catch them. So
The stunts
we need to
this
see-
woman has gotten me into over the last 12
whatever
years.
it takes, right? Whatever it takes for us to
Yes.
get done whatever we have to get done. So there's that as well. But tune in for the final hour, which is tomorrow morning. We still have a whole night tonight of content, but tomorrow morning from 10 to 11 will be the final hour. And we've got some surprises for Dr. Grampuchet because it's her birthday next week.
Oh.
Next week?
Next week, and it's a
Okay.
big birthday. So we have some
right.
surprises for her, and we're going to shave my head. So, it's like, what do you do? But take a look at this beautiful film, this trailer of Beyond, and Ed Asner Family Center up next. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you. I think Thiago is a genius to be able to come in with one little camera. Absolutely paramount to me that the truth is told. There's nothing made pretty or better.
Achei lindo, achei incrível. A força dessa mãe, assim, é uma das coisas mais lindas que eu já vi nos últimos tempos.
I'm a mental health care worker. There was a lot that I was processing.
Didn't have any script. Things happen right away. Everything that you're watching is real, it's raw.
Actually, this movie changed my life. I have a different perspective of life.
Thiago did a wonderful job. It takes a village, and this movie really exemplifies that. And it's a powerful, powerful message.
I think it's a movie that everybody should see, and most likely you'll be like in this state as I am, like very emotional.
His filmmaking, his photography is just amazing. It's a real work of art.
There's no words really. It's a magical. It's beyond.
It's beyond.
I'm in complete unconditional acceptance of them. My name is Tamara Mark, and this is my story.